All right, hi students. Today we're doing M3 circle graphs and line graphs. Okay, and as you work, we do have two glue-ins. So hopefully you have those at this point, or you'll get them as we go. Okay, so we're going to cover two types of graphs today that you are probably familiar with or have read before, either in a math class or in a different class. So it shouldn't be too complicated. We are going to create our own, which will take a little bit more time. Okay, so remember, the first thing that we're going to do is a circle graph, which some people might call a pie chart. Okay, and we use a circle graph when we're working with categorical data. Remember, categorical data means that our answers are like words, names, things. Okay. And big thing with a circle graph is we're going to be using percents. By comparing the part to the whole. Okay, so if you need to pause here to finish writing that down. And then you're going to take your circle graph, it's the one with the circle, and we're going to glue it in either on the left or the right side, depending on your preference. But leave some space here because we do have to show some work. Alright, so as we take a look at this, we have our first circle graph. We have some categories here. That's categorical data. Crazy. Okay, so we're spending money on, it looks like housing, savings, insurance, auto, clothing. So this, I forgot to write a title for. So this should be called maybe annual spending, like our budget. What are we spending money on? So as we look at this, there's a couple things that we can do with it, but because it's not numerical data, we're not going to find like mean or median. Okay, but we can find our mode. What are we spending the most money on? Okay, and the most money that we are spending on is housing. It's the biggest amount. It's 27%. Okay, and then we're going to do one more problem with this one, and it's if you make $32,000 how much money goes towards clothing? Now you might be thinking, well, I don't like to spend money on clothes, but depending on your job, sometimes you have to pay money to get a uniform, or you have to make sure that you have the right clothes and what you wear for your job. You might not want to wear during your free time. Okay, so you might need to spend more money on clothing than you think as an adult. It's kind of a weird thing. I never used to spend that much money on clothing. As an adult, I spend a little bit more than I used to. Okay, so as I look, I'm looking for clothing. Clothing or clothes are 15%. So we're going to do 15% of our total, of our whole. Our whole money we have is $32,000. We're not spending $32,000 on clothes. It's saying that's how much money you make in a year. And we're going to do 15% of $32,000. Okay, so what this of tells us to do is it tells us to multiply. All right, if we use Desmos, there's a couple ways we can do it. First way is by literally just typing in 15, and then if you use the percent button here, it's cool about Desmos is they put the of in there automatically. So 15% of 32,000. Okay. Or we could change this into a decimal. So remember, 15% is actually 0.15 times 32,000. Okay, if I just do 15 times 32,000, I'm going to get a bigger number than 32,000, and I can't spend more on clothes than what I have, unless I want debt, which I personally do not. So our answer, we're measuring in money, so in dollar amounts here, we're going to do 4,800 would be our answer. Okay, next up we are doing our own circle graph here. Okay, so as we make it, we're going to have a title. So I think this one is supposed to be about favorite colors. So we have blue, red, green, yellow. Green is obviously the best, because it's Miss Morale's favorite. All right, you're going to do your best to draw a nice circle. Circles are hard to draw, so do your best. Okay, before we can actually go to the circle, though, we're going to go back and find the percents. So to find the percents, we need to find some totals over here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this amount and I need to add it together. I need to find out how many people did we survey. Okay, so we're adding those together. 5 plus 1 plus 8, whoops. Got 18 in there, plus 8, plus 2. Oh my goodness. There we go. And we get 16. So we have 16 total. So now as I find this, remember to find a percent, we're going to take our amount divided by the total. So it's out of 16. And then we can always do that times 100 for 100%. So in our first one, we have 5 out of 16 times 100, and our answer is going to be 31.2%. And we're just going to round to the nearest percent for this one. So we're going to round to either 31 or 32. That 2 tells us to stay at 31. Okay. So I'm going to write this whole one in this first one, and then we'll just do the fractions to show. So 5 over 16 times 100. We got 31%. Okay, so this next one will be 1 over 16. If you want to write that times 100, you can, but we can just say 1 over 16 is what percent. What's nice about Desmos is now I have that plugged in. I can just delete the 5, put in a 1. Okay, we get 6.25%, so that's about 6%. All right, 8 divided by 16. 8 is half of 16, so 50%. Okay, and then 2 over 16 is 12.5%. So if you round that 12.5, 5 tells us to round up, so we're going to round to 13%. A good way to do this is to double check when we add all of these together, what should be our total percent? Well, it's everybody. If I'm counting everybody, it should add up to 100%. So 31 plus 6 plus 50 plus 13. Sometimes when we round, rounding doesn't always work out well because sometimes we'll be missing a percent. This time we do get 100%. All right, we are just going to be estimating how this is going to work in our circle. We're going to think of some of our angles that we're used to. So first off, I'm going to start with green. Green is 50%. So I'm going to cut this circle in half as best as I can, down the middle. Okay, so this is green, and it's 50%. I'm also going to write it there. That way the person that's reading this knows that if I didn't get it exact, this is what I meant. I meant it to be 50%, even if it's not exact. Okay, the next one I have that I'm going to go with is my next biggest, which is 31%. So So when I look at this 50%, if I break 50% into 2, I'm going to draw really lightly. If I break it down the middle, that would be 25%, right about here. Okay, so I need more than 25%. So I'm going to go more than that. So here's my 25. I need to go a little bit more. I need to get to 31%. So a little bit more than that 25. Okay, so I just use that as my guide. And this one is blue. And again, I'm going to label it. That way the person that's reading this knows that I meant this to be 31%. It's not exact. It's an estimate. Estimate. Not estimate. Don't know. Okay, and then lastly, I have my 13% and my 6%. So I'm going to be drawing that down. I need the 13 to get bigger. So it's not going to go right down the middle. I'm going to make it a little bit over halfway. Okay, so my 13%, my bigger one, this is yellow. And that's 13%. Okay, this is my 6%. I'm going to do a little arrow there because I'm running out of space, and that's my red. Okay, and that is our circle graph. So double check that you have all of that written down, and then we're going to move on to line graphs. All right, so if you needed to pause, go back, do any of that, make sure you do that. Okay, next up we have a line graphs. I'm going to go to the next page because we do have a glue in, and it's going to take up the rest of the page here, or wouldn't fit on the other page. Okay, so line graphs is a display to show the trend. Remember, trend means like what's happening. And we're always usually in a line graph displaying it over time. We're measuring in time how things are changing as we move forward. So what's nice about line graphs is we can use numerical or categorical data as long as it's over time. Okay, so when we measure time, sometimes we measure time in seconds and minutes. Those are numbers like in 2 minutes and 4 minutes. But sometimes we measure time in categories like June, July, August, September. Imagine that I just said the summer months. That's crazy. Okay, so when we say numerical or categorical, it's when we're measuring that time. The way we measure time can be in numbers or it can be in those categories. All right, you should get the second glue in if you have not gotten it already. This is going to go in here, either on the left or the right side. Our first one, we have 2 questions we're going to answer, and then on the second one, we are going to create our own line graph. So go ahead and get that glued in. All right, so in this first one, I forgot a title again. What the heck? Okay, if you look, it says no of books sold. We have a no with a period. If you look at yours, you can see it better than on mine. That means number. So number of books sold, and then we have our weeks. So we're counting our weeks in weeks. So maybe we released a new book. We're saying how many books did we sell within the weeks that we released it. So this is about book sales. All right, so as we look at this, we have 2 questions for this first one that we're going to answer. The first one we're going to have a question on is how many books were sold in week 6? Okay, I'm going to use a colored pencil here. If you'd like to use one too, you can. This is going to help us just kind of, when we look back at our notes, help us understand how we got our answer. So week 6, is that going to be on the x-axis or the y-axis? When I look here, my week is down here. So I'm going to this 6 here. Okay. And then I'm going to go up to that line graph, see where it hits. Where it hits that, we're going to move over, and it hits it at 60. Again, you can hopefully see that a little bit better on yours than on mine. So 60, and those are the amount of books, so 60 books. Okay, we have one more question. Our next question is going to be, what week were 90 books sold? I'm going to use a different color here, so if you'd like to switch colors, doesn't matter which color you use, these are the only 2 colors we're using today. Okay, and this time we're looking for 90 books. So when I look for 90, am I going to look at my x-axis or my y-axis? Well, 90 is my amount of books, and my number of books is on my y-axis here, the one going up and down, so I need to find 90 here. Now as I look, I don't see a 90. It goes 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. So I'm going to first determine what does 90 come between. 90 is between 80 and 100, and there's a line right in the middle, so we're actually counting by tens here. So this is our 90. I'm going to write in a small 90 there, you can. So this time we're looking at this 90. We're going to go over to the graph horizontally, and we actually see that there's 3 points there that it goes through. 1, 2, and 3. So we're finding which weeks those go with. So we're following our way down. Okay, I'll write 1 down all the way, but I didn't want to cross over too much. Okay, so as we take a look at this, this point here, this first one, comes down to week 4. So we have multiple weeks, so I'm going to say weeks 4. Okay, this one is week 5 and week 7. We had 3 weeks where we sold 90 books exactly. Now, if the question might have been more than 90 books, we would go above that. If it was less than 90 books, we would go below that. All right, last one here. We're going to create our own line graph. It says, as a salesman, you kept track of how many cars you sold each day for 1 week, Monday through Friday. Holy moly, Monday there must have been a sale or something. Sold a lot, and on Friday. Wednesday, woof, not so much. Okay, so as we do this, we need an X and a Y axis. So I'm going to go down and over. Okay, now on a line graph, we're measuring over time, so our time needs to go below. As we look at our time, we're measuring time Monday through Friday. So this is going to be the day of the week, or weekday, however you want to say that. I'm going to say day of week. I don't know. Day of the week is what it really should say. Oh well. Okay, and we're doing Monday through Friday, so I need a tick mark for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now this one's kind of goofy because I said it was categorical data. Really, this is still numerical. The amounts we're measuring is numerical, but how we measured the days of the week is categorical. It's a little goofy. Okay, and then this side, this is where we're going to put in these numbers. So the highest I have to go to is 7. So I'm going to count by ones, but I'm going to do like what we've been doing where we skip every other. So I'm going to put a tick mark in the middle, and then my next line here I'm going to put 2. So that way I can write a little bit bigger, and then hopefully the person reading this can, oops, I was going to put 3 there though. Okay, so this one is 3, then this one is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and I do need to label this y-axis. If you want to turn your paper sideways, you can to write sideways. Otherwise, you can just write it next to here. And this is the amount of cars, how many? So our number of cars. Okay, and then we do need an overall title. What is this about? Well, you're a salesman and you're selling cars. So just maybe car sales. Okay, then to create the line graph, we just make these points on our graph and then connect them with some nice straight lines. So our first one is Monday, would be 7. So I'm going to go up to 7, make a point at Monday. Tuesday is 5. Wednesday is 1. Thursday I have 3. I'm going to that 3. And then Friday is 6. I go up to that 6 there. And then to show the trend, we do connect, and that just helps our reader realize that these are all connected one after the other. You should have a ruler in your bins. I don't for some reason. So if you want to use a ruler to connect, you can. That way it looks nice. Okay, or you just use a straight edge of some sort. I'm just using the side of Post-it notes. And there is our graph. If yours looks like mine where these dots don't look big enough, you can always go back and make them a little bit bigger so that people can see where those points are. All right, and that is our notes for today. There is a quick check, and then tomorrow we will have a practice.